Hey everybody, it's Bobby with KCA Homestead. Why am I sitting in the back of a Kawasaki Mule? Well, I got bored, and when I get bored, bad things happen. I'm trying to rig up a winch in the bed of my mule. I have a lift bed, or hydraulic lift bed, whatever you call it, manual lift bed on a hydraulic shock, whatever it's called. But as I get older, it's harder for me to lift deer and hogs into the bed of this thing. I have to stand up in it and try to grab the horns off the ground or the back legs if it's a doe, or if it's a hog, I really just kind of drag it with the winch. But anyway, I got on a new deer lease. I'll be on there with my son, but I will be hunting by myself a lot out in the middle of nowhere. And so I kind of want to rig up a winch with a battery system, and I don't want the winch connected permanently to my main battery on the mule, because when the bed lifts up, the wires need to stretch out 3 or 4 feet and then go back down. And I'm going to make a kind of a portable system. I'm figuring this out as I go, like most systems. I did try the Milwaukee M18 conversion kit where you can put an M18 battery, but I couldn't get enough power. And I mean, I could get enough power. It doesn't last long, but the main thing is there's no protection to keep your battery from going too low and ruining it, or as they call it, smoking the battery, where you can't charge it even if it's new. And those batteries are very expensive. So I decided to get away from that, even though it was a cool idea to use a Milwaukee battery. I still may use it for some portable lights and stuff, but I am going to hook up a big 12-volt battery out of a transformer something or another kit that I got for free. And it's got a lot of amp hours, and I think it'll run my Harbor Freight ATV winch. 2,500 pound winch was more than enough to lift a deer off the ground up into the bed. So what I've done so far is I've drilled, and this is the top of the bed right here. I can't put it up here because when the bed tilts, it'll hit the bottom of the winch and everything. There's not much clearance when you tilt the bed up. So I'm gonna mount it here. And so I've drilled 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. And I'm gonna try to use some spare bolts, nuts, and washers. They may be a little too long. If not, I may have to find some shorter ones. But I'm gonna go through this deck board, pretty stout treated deck board, and mount that deck board up there like that. And on here I'm gonna have my winch, my it's called a circuit breaker thing where you connect your winch remote, and I also have a wireless remote. And I'm gonna have a battery box. I think the battery weighs so much, I don't think I want to put that stress on here from all the bouncing around. So I'm probably gonna run the wires into the battery box and have the battery box over here, which will be a plastic ammo can. And then I'll caulk it up and get the wires in there, and I can take the battery in and out and charge it easily. So I'll keep you updated. Who knows if it's gonna work? I think it will. It's just a matter of how to rig all this up. It will be protected pretty good because of the overhang of the roof, you know, as far as rain and everything. But thanks for tuning in. I hope this works out, and I hope it gives you an idea to put a winch in the back of your side-by-side to help you load deer, hogs, or equipment. Well, my bolts and nuts my bolts were a little too short. So I found 2 of these, and I needed 4. So I'm gonna put these 2 in. Got 1 in already. I'm gonna put this one in here and then work around those and see if I can find something else to go in there. So this is basically just gonna go in there, and then I'm going to tighten it down with a lock nut and a washer, and then work on those two center holes. I'll be back. So I had to take some extra long bolts and cut them off with a grinder. As you can see, I didn't really cut them real smooth, but they are working. I've got one more to put on, and then should be good. Well, the next step after I got this board mounted was to mount the winch, and I tried to keep it in the middle. Really not the best for my layout. I really needed it over here, but not a big deal, since I decided my battery is not going to mount here. I'm just going to keep it here where I can kind of quick connect it. But I am going to mount this little circuit breaker thing on here, and that's where the remote plugs in. And I think I already mentioned I also have a wireless remote. So I am making progress. I hope y'all are understanding what I'm doing here. Not a big deal. It'll make more sense when I get the battery hooked up and can winch deer. I'll lower that tailgate and raise this bed up so this winch will be up here, and drag a deer into the bed. And then as the deer gets over the halfway point, the bed should fold closed like it is now. That's the plan anyway. We shall see. Okay, I've got the circuit breaker, not circuit breaker, but just the transformer, whatever it is, where the remote goes. I've got it wired up to the winch. I'll probably put a little of that dielectric grease for electrical connections, since it'll be out in the elements a little bit. Now, my question is, I've got to run this circuit breaker. I think there's a fuse in there, into this box. I don't really like this box. It's a little flimsy. I may look for a metal ammo can that has the rubber sealant. But I do want to get this tried out or tested. So I'm just trying to figure out a way to temporarily rig everything. Probably have to drill a hole in the box for the wires to go through. Get everything sealed up. We'll give her a test run. Be right back. So I took this little circuit breaker box apart, and the hot wire, I'm sorry, the negative wire. Oh, I lied. This wire connects in here with this little rubber waterproof grommet. I'm not going to need that grommet because this circuit breaker is going to be inside the waterproof box, hopefully. So what I'm going to do is try to use this grommet in this hole. I'm going to have to make it a little bit bigger and run both of my ground and hot wires through that hole to the battery. So let me see if I can do it without making the hole too big and making it useless. I'll be right back. Well, that black grommet idea did not work because I forgot. It was made or sized for one wire, and I needed it to go around 2 wires. So I'm going to come up with something else. I don't know what I'm going to use, but I got to waterproof that a little bit. Alrighty, back to work. I'm putting this circuit breaker back together. Going to put the battery hooked up to this. Everything trying to fit into that box, and then find a way to secure that box so when I raise the bed up to use the winch, the box won't go flying out of the bed. Once again, this is not going to be my permanent box, but I want to make sure everything works as far as the electronics and the physics of actually dragging something up there. I might have to tie Daisy or Mary or Abby and see if I can pull them up in there. Okay, folks, got everything wired up. The box is just kind of half-ass ratchet strapped up there just so it won't slide out of the bed since I've got the bed tilted. What I didn't count on was that extra weight of the battery and the winch. It's making my bed shut prematurely, my life story. So I got the little safety latch on here to hold the bed up just for a test. I got my remote that came with it. Once again, Harbor Freight Badlands 2500 winch. Comes with a wired remote and a wireless remote. You hold the button in the middle for 3 seconds. Light turns blue, the remote is on. You've got extend and you've got retract. So this is a, 5.5 gallons of gas. Gas weighs about 8 pounds a gallon or whatever, so we'll just call it 50 pounds. Not the same as a deer, but that's all I got right now. And what I will do is retract the winch if that was a deer and get it up to the tailgate. If it has horns, I'll probably have to get the horns up on the tailgate so they don't get caught. And let's take a look. Not bad. So the weight of the deer at first should keep this up in the air, and I can probably, when I'm not filming with one hand, I can hold this up until the deer gets up over the tailgate. And then I wouldn't be using this safety latch. So in theory, I could keep retracting the deer up to the back of the bed. Bam. Tailgate shuts by itself. Finish winching the deer up. Shut my tailgate if I need to. And take off to the skinning rack at camp. Pretty cool project. I'm going to put my wired remote either in here if there's room or in my glove box just for a backup. And if I ever have a deer down in a gully or creek bed or something, I can use my main Warn winch on the front of the mule. Anyway, that concludes the project. I hope that gives you some ideas. I'm sure there were better ways to do this, but I wanted to get it done today. And I kind of did, except for this box. Thanks for watching.